Namaskar and welcome to Sansad Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our show Perspective, where we bring you detailed analysis of key national and international issues. Today we're going to talk about the issue of interstate border disputes. Now, Union Home Minister Amit Shah on Wednesday held a meeting with the Chief Ministers of Maharashtra and Karnataka on the border dispute between the two states. Both sides agreed that neither state will press their claims further till the judgment of the Supreme Court on this matter. And a panel of 3 ministers each from both the states will meet and discuss the issue in detail. Now, Karnataka and Maharashtra are not the only two states involved in border dispute. Central government in December last year had informed the parliament that there are boundary disputes arising out of demarcation of boundaries and claims and counterclaims over territories between various other states such as Andhra Pradesh and Odisha, Haryana and Himachal Pradesh, UT of Ladakh and Himachal Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka, of course, and Assam, along with Arunachal Pradesh, Assam and Nagaland, Assam and Meghalaya, and Assam and Mizoram as well. Now, some matters related to division of assets are also pending between Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and Bihar and Jharkhand as well. So today we'll try and discuss and analyze all aspects of this issue and understand not only the genesis of the problem but also how this can be resolved. And for more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of experts. Let me first introduce them to you, beginning with Professor Umesh Ashok Kadam is here in the studio with us. He's a member secretary of Indian Council of Historical Research, that is ICHR. Welcome, Professor Kadam, to the studio. We are also joined by Mr. Shekhar Iyer, well-known senior journalist, and Mr. P.K. Malhotra, former secretary from the Ministry of Law and Justice with the Government of India, is also with us. So I'll begin with you, Mr. Iyer, and let's start with the basics first, because this issue is back in limelight, back at the center stage because of the ongoing tensions between Maharashtra and Karnataka over that border dispute. What's the genesis of this dispute? Because as per the reports, it goes way back.
Indeed, Vishalji, it goes back to the State Reorganization Act of 1957 and the Bombay Reorganization Act of 1960. And then subsequent to that, there was your Mayor Chand, the Mahajan Commission was there, and the commission examined the claims of both Karnataka and Maharashtra and made some recommendations, which were placed, the report was placed in Parliament in 1970. Now, since then, what has happened is, this matter has not moved forward. But every time there is an approaching assembly elections, either in Karnataka or in Maharashtra, we find that, both sides try to flex muscles. Political parties and opposition parties in the respective states also try to put pressure on each other to show that we are more committed. And the other thing is you are seeing is the unfortunate part is compared to, the other border disputes you mentioned, particularly those in the northeast, have involved very, very violent acts where, the police forces of the disputing states were seen to be acting, out of control, and that had created a lot of problems, whether it is Assam and Nagaland or sometimes Assam and Meghalaya, those are extreme. But as far as Maharashtra-Karnataka is concerned, you see, the problem here is, it is largely political. At least what I can see is becomes political, and of course, and this particular time of the year, the issues come to the fore because Karnataka holds a special session of its assembly in Belgavi, as in Karnataka they say, and Belgaum as Maharashtra claims. And they also built a second Vidhan South, that is the building of the legislature in Belgavi. So whenever this session timing, this time it is supposed to be held around December 19. So the tensions do drop, but the unfortunate part is, even this time we saw buses coming from, Karnataka being attacked in Maharashtra, particularly in Pune.
Okay.
Similarly, buses of Karnataka, being targeted in Maharashtra. And of course, the political changes in Maharashtra has also played a very important part. The fact that today it is Eknath Shinde, Devendra Fadnavis government in Maharashtra. So the opposition led by Uddhav Thackeray, party, then Sharad Pawar's NCP, and they are all, trying to corner each other into saying that, look, you are not taking care of the interest of the Maharashtra.
Okay.
Similarly, in Karnataka is headed for elections in March, April. So you can see rising tension there also.
Okay, okay. Professor Kadam, I'd like to bring you in here, you know, as Mr. Iyer was pointing out, of course, in issues like this, politics do happen, you know, with interests coming in from both sides, the ruling side as well as the opposition. And then there are, you know, comments and remarks made as well in a particular time frame as Mr. Iyer was referring to. But historically also, isn't this a historical issue also, historical problem as well? Because it's been almost 7 decades, yet no resolution in sight.
Yes, it is of course an historical issue. I would, correct me if I am wrong, I would rather take up, the dispute a little more earlier. It is not with the formation of the linguistic states, but Belgaum then was an integral part of the Marathi speaking masses.
Okay.
And it was being separated by the colonial rulers for some administrative purposes. So that is what is being again and again highlighted by the people in Maharashtra, that Belgaum was a part of integral, Maharashtra, but the creation of Maharashtra happens at a later stage. Fortunately, I was born in Kolhapur, and I was being brought up in this place named Kolhapur, which is just 120 kilometers from Belgaum. So I lived in close proximity, and since last 40 years, I have been watching this dispute very closely, which has been very rightly pointed out by our senior journalist over here, that whenever elections take place, these disputes come into limelight, and when the elections are off, they are,
Forgotten about.
They are completely forgotten. And what happens is that people are very emotional about such things. But what has happened, what I can understand about it as a student of history, as a professor of history, a person who has been traveling across India as a member secretary of Indian Council of Historical Research, because we do have our regional centers across in Guwahati, which caters to the 8 states in Guwahati. We have one SRC South in Bengaluru, which caters to the 5 southern states, and we have an Western Regional Center which caters to another 5 states of India. And when we see historically, there are completely different problems, but when we try to understand the history of India and the mindset of Indian people, we should never forget that the Indian history construct in itself, which has been given to the people of India through their university syllabuses and their NCERT textbooks, is an idea which has been gone through all 65 years, which tells them how separate they are from each other.
Okay.
It is an idea which talks about a geopolitical kind of an history. And it is only because of that kind of a geopolitical understanding of history, people think that they are not integrated. If you try to understand the histories which are being done in other countries, more they are connected with a geocultural kind of an understanding. So if we try to integrate our history and our knowledge of history and our conscience of history, and when we try to understand everything as a part of pride of India, sidelining the weaknesses, trying to understand the commonalities within ourselves, then we will be able to find out threads which will try to attach each other. I can give a very example, and
please.
Then you can continue with.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Maharashtra is a place where you have Pandharpur, and the deity of Pandharpur himself is known as Kannada Vittalu. The ideal of Vitthala travelled from Karnataka into Maharashtra, and within this Deccan there are several thousands and lakhs of deities from Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka and Maharashtra, which every year in the month of Ashad come to this place for worship, and which is known very popularly as the Warkari Sampradaya. And within that ambit, we see that all these people, if they can come together for a spiritual bonding, for a religious bonding, for a bonding which takes them towards understanding things, intellectual things in a very dynamic manner, why is it that the same people are failing themselves to understand the needs and concerns of each other and highlighting such kind of border issues? It's only because they understand the history of India in a geopolitical sense, not in the geocultural sense.
Okay, so a holistic look at the history and culture is what you're saying, Professor Kadam, is required. Mr. Malhotra, let me bring you on the legal and the constitutional aspect of this. Now, as Mr. Iyer was also pointing out, and historically, of course, there might be other aspects as well. But legally speaking, the genesis of, and this is not just about Maharashtra and Karnataka. As I was pointing out earlier, there are almost half a dozen more states, and some conflicts, as Mr. Iyer was referring to, in northeastern between northeastern states vis-a-vis the border disputes. Now, the genesis is with the reorganization of states. And as I was pointing out earlier, it has been more than 7 decades now, almost 7 decades. Why is it that we've not been able to find a solution to almost all of these disputes?
Vishal, you have made my job easier by saying that I should highlight the legal aspects of the problem which is being discussed today, and which is not a problem relating to only Maharashtra and Karnataka, but to many other states, and these disputes have been pending for a very long time. First of all, my compliments to the Home Minister when he invited both the Chief Minister on the table, had a discussion with them, and persuaded both of them to maintain peace till the Supreme Court judgment comes. Now, the Supreme Court matter is pending since 2004. Talking about the legal perspective, let's go back to the Constitution. I mean, historical perspective Professor Kadam has given, and maybe that may be a point to be taken into consideration for resolution of the disputes. But so far as the existing legal framework is concerned, Article 1 to 4 are relevant for this purpose, because Article 1 talks about Bharat, which is the union of states, and what states? States are mentioned in Schedule 1 of the Constitution, and Schedule 1 define the territories also of each of the states. Now, these territories have been defined, as Mr. Shekhar Iyer also pointed out, after the Reorganization Act of 1956, which the Reorganization Commission, it started working in 1953. In fact, the work has been going on earlier also, and the states were reorganized. And thereafter, as and when there has been a reorganization of different states, there has been dispute. You mentioned about the regarding assets distribution between Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, which is the latest example. Before that, Bihar and Jharkhand, assets allocation is a problem. And with regard to Assam also, because all these states in the northeast were carved out of Assam, all of those states are having dispute. And these disputes probably are more or less, as Mr. Iyer also pointed out and Mr. Kadam also supported, are more for political reason than any other reason. And if you strictly follow the spirit of the law, if the Reorganization Commission or the commissions constituted thereafter have given a decision, and all of us know that this 1956 Reorganization Act is based on linguistic basis. Even when you are doing division of states or carving out states based on the language, there may be certain pockets where there may be some decision taken which may not be liked by the states, but the fact remains we all are citizens of India and not citizen of a state. Saying that it should be 100% on linguistic basis itself, I think, is not a proposition which is acceptable to anyone. Okay. But yes, for political reasons, that is being exploited. And as has been said, because this particular Belagavi was given to Karnataka, Maharashtra has been agitating right from day one that it should have been part of state of Maharashtra. And therefore, the Mahajan Commission was also appointed. Mahajan Commission has also given a ruling in favor of its continuation in the state of Karnataka. But unfortunately, that decision was not acceptable to state of Maharashtra, and matter is pending in the Supreme Court in 2004. Now, for amicable settlement of all these disputes, because they are under the constitutional provision, law has been made and boundaries are carved out as per the law, and states have to discuss among themselves, and if states come to a particular conclusion and they agree to a proposition, I don't see any reason why the Parliament, in exercise of its power under Article 4 of the Constitution, cannot re-carve out the areas. They will be doing it. But I think it should not be on confrontation basis, but it should be on consensus basis. And since there is no consensus, and for political advantage, parties start exploiting this situation, probably the man on the ground suffer, and the development in that particular area also doesn't take place to the expectation of the people living in that area.
Okay, but for us to understand it better, Mr. Malhotra, as you're pointing out, it's the two disputing parties, both the states, in this case Karnataka and Maharashtra, In other cases, it can be Andhra Pradesh and Odisha. It can be Haryana and Himachal Pradesh. It can be Assam and Meghalaya, Assam and Mizoram as well. The two concerned states will have to come to a consensus, will have to agree. Then only the central government can go ahead and step in and, make requisite arrangements. Is that the constitutional position?
No, I think if we strictly say so, probably that will not be the correct position, because it is the parliament which has to take a call, and parliament, before taking a call, it has to before introducing a bill in the parliament, it has to take assent of the president, and before taking consent of the president, the states are to be consulted. That consultation, as per the provision of the constitution, is not binding, and probably parliament can take an independent decision irrespective of the views expressed by the states. But the fact remains, because we believe in federalism, and in federalism, central government always take into confidence the state government.
Okay.
It is only when a situation arises when the two states are conflicting, the center appoints a commission, takes into view the recommendation made by the commission, and then the ultimate power lies with the parliament to pass a law in this regard. States are to be consulted, keeping in view the spirit of the constitution and the federalism.
Okay.
But the recommendation made by the state governments are not binding on the parliament, and parliament simply consider it and then can pass a law in accordance with the provision of the constitution.
Okay. But in the spirit of federalism, the preference is given to the consultative approach and the consensus approach there. Now, Mr. Iyer, as Mr. Malhotra was explaining in detail about the legal aspect of it and the constitutional way ahead. Again, the question here is that this entire consultation process has been a long, drawn-out process. Almost 7 decades. It's not that commissions have not been set up. Specifically, when we're talking about Karnataka, Maharashtra dispute here, the commissions were set up. The reports were submitted. The consultation process happened, but no resolution. So, what's the way forward?
Well, in fact, the petition before the Supreme Court, where the Maharashtra has challenged the State Reorganization Act of 1956, the Maharashtra's contention is it is for the Supreme Court to take a final call on this. Whereas it has been opposed by Karnataka, because if Maharashtra is citing Article 131 of the Constitution to say that the apex court has the final say on these matters in cases of disputes relating to states, and there should be intervention from the Supreme Court, Karnataka has opposed it, saying that Karnataka says that under the Article 3 of the Constitution, it is the Parliament which has to take a final call. You see, I think the problem is, when states were reorganized on linguistic basis, in these areas which we are seeing dispute, a lot of the areas were allotted, despite the linguistic character of those places, largely out of administrative convenience, because this is also an aspect that has to be taken into account. But what is more important, I think, what Professor Kadam said, look, these are matters whether whatever is the final resolution, it should also take into account local convenience, people's convenience, administrative convenience, of course, the linguistic character, because states have been organized, because there has been an endless debate on whether states should have been, purely organized on a linguistic basis. Should language be in the main criteria? This debate has been there. But I think what is worrying is, when chauvinistic groups on either side, this side or that side of any of these disputes, when they, they incite violence. Because in the meeting that was just Malhotra ji mentioned, see, Home Minister particularly asked the Chief Ministers of both Karnataka and Maharashtra, because the intelligence reports have said that some Twitter account and social media is being used to incite violence.
Okay.
Because this is a very dangerous trend. Whenever you have troubles like this, there are forces, inimical forces, which want to fish in these waters. And maybe some political parties think that this will benefit them, but it does not. Because unfortunately, if two states like Karnataka and Maharashtra, which share so many things, and Professor Kadam beautifully brought out the importance and the spiritual heritage of Pandharpur, and how people from all over the country, and particularly from Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Maharashtra, even from Tamil Nadu, they come to Pandharpur every year. When these are the cultural strength are there, I think it is very important, and both the chief ministers have agreed to wait till the Supreme Court. And second thing, under Amit Shah's direction, they are also setting up committees in which ministers will be there. There will be a committee under senior IPS officers also, because the police from both states must also get involved to prevent kind of incidents which are actually which are blot, I would say, because poor people who are traveling from one state to another state, if they are stranded somewhere, they are caught in this kind of violence. So that's an unfortunate thing which must be avoided at all costs, Vishal.
Okay. Professor Kadam, as Mr. Iyer is also referring to, you were earlier pointing out the historical aspect of it, the cultural aspect of it. There's a linguistic basis on which the states were reorganized as well. So in your views, historical and cultural issue, of course, has to be taken into consideration, and that is one very important aspect. But what's the way ahead? Because these disputes have been, hanging fire for quite a long time now, and it's high time that we resolve them.
Yes. After independence, I think we wanted to solve all our issues in a snap immediately. And what happened while doing this is that we created a mess of understanding many things. There were people around who were trying to consciously, tell us that what are the problems with formation of linguistic states. If we read what Dr. Ambedkar has said and what will be the character of these states after some 40-45 years, so he has rightly pointed out, and we have arrived to that kind of a juncture. Now, at this juncture, I have complete faith in the current government, because the current government, we see that they have, tackled the issue of Kashmir in a very enlightened way, and they have given the people of India whatever they were trying to dream for a long span of time. So in the similar manner, as Malhotra ji has suggested and as Iyer ji has suggested over here, what Malhotra ji has suggested is that if the states are unable to take up any decision, then the center has the power to intervene and take a call on it.
Okay.
So within the ambit of the federal kind of an understanding, I think some more time should be given to the states, all the states, to discuss and find out amicable solutions, to see to it that they cater to the basic interests of the people living within those areas. And if they are not able to give proper solutions, or if they are not going to bring out proper remedies within a nutshell kind of an proposal, then all such kinds of disputes should be taken up instantly by the central government within the ambit of the current law, and they should be solved at one stroke. Because keeping up such kind of issues lingering around is not healthy for a huge young population like India, which aspires to see representing India and the pride of India across globally. So this kind of issues don't showcase us in a very
positive light,
prosperous manner towards the world, when the world is looking towards India in a very different kind of a framework. Times are changing, and we need to understand how we have to face and try to keep our face value within the global perspective.
And indeed, resolving all these issues is a part of that particular process there. Thank you so much, Professor Kadam, Mr. Malhotra as well, and Mr. Shekhar Iyer for sharing your views and insight as our experts were explaining not only the genesis of these interstate border disputes between states like Karnataka and Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh-Odisha, Haryana-Himachal Pradesh, and Assam, with several other neighboring states in the northeast, but also the way forward, the focus on finding a solution now and ensuring that it is implemented properly. We'll keep a close watch on all the developments on this front and come back again to you with this and several other topics as well. Till then, keep watching Sansad Television. Thank you.